All right. Hey, hey, hey. Namaste, good afternoon, and greetings to one and all. My name is Digvijay Wanchoo, and I'd like to welcome you to the 18th edition of our occasional React and React Native remote meetup. It's been a while since we have been doing these remote meetups now. I mean, we used to do them physically before, but since everything changed since the past year, we've been doing all of these meetups remotely, and we are excited to bring you another edition of this today. It's a wonderful day outside. It's really afternoon here. I don't know which time zones you guys are joining from. So thank you so much for spending your uh, 2 hours of the day with us. I assure you that, like always, we are bringing an interesting lineup of speakers with some amazing things and amazing talks that they want to share with you. But before that, yes, I would be your host and MC for for this event, and I want to take some time to talk about what GeekyAnts is and what the history of these meetups have been. So basically, we are a product studio. We build mobile apps and web apps. I think most of you already know that because I mean, that's of course to all the recurring viewers that we have today, but those who are new, we have been doing these meetups for quite some time now. It's the 18th edition. We have been doing a lot of Flutter meetups as well. We do meetups in Angular and Svelte as well. We are really huge on communities. We do a lot of open source contributions. We have worked on native base, which is UI component library for React Native. I think it's probably one of the most used UI components library out there today for React Native, and we built that. So, yeah, another one of our products is BuilderX that you might have heard of. We've got API Beats and a lot of other different open source contributions out there in the market as well. As far as the community side of things is concerned, of course, we do a lot of these meetups. We attend a lot of conferences. Say very recently, you are going to find us on React Day Bangalore, which is on 19th and 20th March. So I mean, the idea behind doing these meetups was just to bring the community together and talk about the technologies that we all love so much, and that is what our goal has been behind these behind hosting and organizing these meetups, and that's what we are going to do today as well. So I guess without further ado, I should introduce you to the first speaker of the day, first of the 4 speakers that we have today, Plaban J. Rajkhowa. He's going to be talking about how you can get started with React Native Firebase dynamic links. So before anything, let's have Plaban here on screen. All right, there he is. Very good afternoon, Plaban.
Hello, hello. Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How about you? You look
I'm
great.
good. I'm good. Thank you so much. Oh, thank you so much. You look great as well.
Oh,
It's been a
thanks a
long
lot.
time since I've seen you and spoken to you. So it's really
Yes,
good to see
yes,
you today.
yes. Likewise, likewise.
As a short introduction, of course, Plaban is a software developer at GeekyAnts, and he has been working with GeekyAnts for almost 1.5 years now. He mainly works
Yeah.
in React and React Native and holds expertise in that, but he has also had the opportunity to work on Svelte when we were starting out with it. So that's another
Mm-hmm.
accolade to his name. Apart from that, I have come to know that he is a big time Peaky Blinders fan, and
Yeah.
I mean, why don't you quote the most favorite dialogue from Peaky Blinders for
No,
you?
no. No, not here. Not
Too
here, bro,
unsafe,
obviously.
not appropriate enough.
Yeah, exactly.
And also, I've recently found out that you have developed a newfound interest in reading fictional books.
Yeah, man. Lately, I have found out, Amish Tripathi. So, like,
Mm-hmm.
his books are really, really exciting. I've been reading his book, the first book.
Mm-hmm.
I'm liking it.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I have started reading books in this lockdown.
Well, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, the lockdown and the pandemic has all, of course, given us some good things to do in life.
Yes, yes.
Helped us to figure out new things that we would like to do. So, Plavan, I'm going to leave the stage to you, and why don't you take it away?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Thank you. I hope my screen is visible to you. Yes. Okay. Hello, everyone. So, as Digvijay has, introduced, my name is Plaban. So, I'm a software developer at GeekyAnts for almost 1.5 years now. I mainly work in React Native and React, and this is my first meetup as a speaker, and I'm really excited to be here and a little nervous at the same time. So, anyways, so let's get started with our talk. So today we are talking about how to get started with React Native Firebase dynamic links. So first of all, what are React Native Firebase dynamic links? So these are basically smart or you say magic links that enable us, the developers, to give our users a very personalized experience. Okay, so it lets you take users to a very specific part of the app from a website or a link. Okay, the idea might be very vague at this point in time, but it'll get clear as we go further. Okay, so why do we need dynamic links? All right, to understand this question, let's consider a situation. For example, you have a web app and an Android app. Okay, but and while your users are accessing your website on a desktop browser, it's fine. But when they're accessing it on a mobile browser, you want the users to go to the Android app, basically for a better experience. For say, okay, so in that case, Firebase dynamic links come in handy. Okay, so how it helps you? So if you want the user to get directed to your app, so Firebase dynamic links help you. So here, if the app is installed in the user's mobile, you can take the users to a very specific part of the app, or if it's not installed in their mobile, you can take them to the respective stores, for example the Play Store or the App Store. Okay, the most importantly, it survives the installation process. It never loses the context. So what do I mean by that? For example, the your user was on your website and they clicked on a specific offer link. Okay, so but the app wasn't installed, so straight to the uh, Play Store. But even after installation process is done, that dynamic link will hold the offer key so that you can provide a very personalized experience, or you can take them to a specific part of the app. So that's there. So now we have understood why we need dynamic links and how it helps us. So let's go get going and start installing and uh, implementing it with our app. All right, so for installation process, first we need the React Native app in a React Native app. So to do that, we all know we do React Native init and the name of our app. So I have named the React Native dynamic linking. Then to add dynamic links, we need Firebase added to our app. So to do that, we do yarn add React Native Firebase / app. So I'm using yarn here. You can use npm as well. That's all right. Okay. So after doing this yarn add React Native Firebase / app, there are a couple of steps. So for that, please refer to the docs. I'm not going into details on that. So after that, we add our dynamic links package to our app using yarn add React Native Firebase / dynamic links. Okay, so once we have installed this, now we can go ahead and create our first dynamic link. So to do that, we'll head to the Firebase console, Firebase console, then select the project and head to the dynamic links on the left drawer. All right. So this will take us to a page where it will have a get started button. We click on that, a pop-up that looks something like this will come in front of you. So here we need to configure our domain for our app. You might have a domain already registered, for example, xyz.com. You can put it here, you can verify it and finish. Boom, your domain is configured. But for the course of this talk, I'll be using a free domain provided by Google. So that looks something like your app dot page dot link. So here it is, React Native dynamic linking dot page dot link. So once done, we click on continue, we head to the next page. So here we'll have a button, new dynamic link. We click on that, we'll head to a page that looks something like this. So all the magic happens here. All right. So here in the first step, we will configure a short URL. So you must be, wondering what is this URL. Okay. So this is the link that will land us to the Play Store or our app. So this is the URL. This is the link we'll be using. Okay. So Google will pre-fill this with a random text, but to give a professional, professional touch to it, we can customize it. So here I have added native base because yeah, this is a great UI library by GeekyAnts. I love it. So you can please go check out native base if you haven't. It's a great UI library. All right. So after customizing this, click on next. We had to this second step. So in this second step, we add our deep link. Okay, what is the deep link, you might ask? So this is the URL for which the transition from a web app to the application is needed, right? So here I have chosen the GitHub repo of native base. You can give a name. This will help you identify the link better. Once done, we click next. We head to this the fourth step. Okay, I have skipped the third step. This is because for the course of this talk, I'll be using Android as the reference. So yeah, the steps are pretty much the same. You need not to worry about that. Okay, in this step, we have the option to open the deep link directly in a browser, but that doesn't make sense. We don't want to do it. What we want to do is we want to open the link in our Android app. So for that, we click on this option and we select our app from the drop down. Okay. So once done, there is an option to specify what you want what you want the link to behave like when the app is not installed in your mobile. So here is the option to open the Google Play Store page for your app if the app is not installed in your mobile. So you click on that and you click on next. We head to the fifth step. So this is not an important this is not the mandatory step. This is an optional step. So here you can specify a few things like the title, the description, and our preview image. This is for better sharing purpose. All right. So if you fill this and you click on create and done, your dynamic link is created. So now we'll go ahead and do the Android setup. So for this, we need to add, we should have an Android app added to our Firebase project. So to do that, head to the Firebase project and click on add app and click on the Android app icon, and you can add a Android app. So this is straightforward, and you can follow the React Native Firebase docs for further details. All right, now we have added our app. So now what we need to do is we need to create a SHA-256 fingerprint for our app. So to do that, we go to the Android directory, that is by doing cd Android. Then we run this command, that is /gradlew signing report. So this gives us a signing report with a couple of variants like debug, release, and stuff. But we'll copy the debug variant SHA-256 fingerprint. We'll copy this for the next step. All right. So in this step, we'll head to the project settings. We need to add this SHA-256 fingerprint here. So we'll head to our Android application, Android app. Then we'll paste our SHA-256 fingerprint. All right. So after this step, we are almost done. Now what we need to do is to check whether our domain is working or not. So to do that, we go to this link, that is your domain that we have configured in our previous steps /.well known slash asset links.json. So this will give us a response. Uh, this response would look something like this. We'll surely have a target object which will hold a package name and the SHA-256 fingerprint. But if you don't see this response, you would want to wait because registering the domain might take a while. So before going further, you would want to see this. All right. All right. Once you see this, now we go ahead and add all the links we want to open in our app in our Android manifest file, so that our app knows which links to open in our app. Okay, to do that, we'll head to the Android manifest file under Android slash app slash src slash main folder. So under the main activity, we'll add this piece of code. So here I have added both HTTPS and HTTP schemes just for just to make it bulletproof, so that it doesn't matter where you are coming from, it should open up. All right. So once done, now all we have to do is to listen to the events. So there are two situations here. One is the foreground situation, one is the background situation. The foreground situation is when your app is in the foreground and you're clicking on a link from within the app. All right. So for that, we can use the onLink method to subscribe to the events and as and when they happen. Right. So here we can process the deep link, and we can show a specific specific UI. We can take them to a specific screen, whatever we want to do basically. So here on link method will pass a callback. So here we'll get the link. From here we can put here we can put our logic to show us whatever we want to. All right, so this is the foreground situation, right? So once you have added this, there's another situation that is the background situation, when the app is not in the foreground or the app is fully has been fully quit. So here we can use the get initial link method of dynamic links, uh, f- uh, from dynamic links. So here similarly we'll get the link and we can check whether it's our deep link that we have set up during our process. So here also we can put our logic to show the specific page or take the user to a specific screen based on the link they're coming from. All right, so this is it. Now you are done with we are done with the installation process, we are done with the Android setup, and we are done listening to it. This is it. So this was very pretty simple to add dynamic links to our project. So that's it from my end. So I hope this was useful and helpful to you guys. And if there's any question, please feel free to ask in the comment section, or you can hit me up on Twitter and LinkedIn. So thank you guys for listening. Digvijay, over to you.
Hi again, Plaban.
Uh,
Plaban, are you able to
hey,
hear me?
yeah, I can hear you.
Perfect, perfect. That was a wonderful talk. Thank you so much. We do have a few
Yeah.
questions for you from our viewers.
Uh, okay.
So, Ananya wants to ask the steps that you have mentioned to
Mm-hmm.
achieve dynamic links. Are these steps the
Mm-hmm.
same for Android and iOS both, or are there some different steps that are needed?
Yeah, like for iOS, like the setup is a little different. We need a developer account for setting up in iOS. Otherwise, the steps, creating a dynamic link or, you know, configuring your domain, these are everything are same. Just, the
Mhm,
i- integration part is a little different. You need a provisioning profile and stuff. So it's
mhm,
little tricky,
mhm.
but if you follow the docs, you should be all good.
All right. I hope that answers your question, Ananya. There's another question for you, Plaban. Gaurav
Mhm.
asks, Is it possible to identify unique users for referrals using Firebase dynamic links?
Yeah, sure. Of course, a- as I have said that this survives the installation process, and this that link can hold the context, so you can pass in specific IDs so that the app recognizes the unique users, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's
All right.
possible.
All right. Gaurav, I hope that answers your question. Uh, a different Gaurav has another question. Uh,
Okay.
so, since we are achieving dynamic links here, Gaurav
Mhm.
asks, is it possible to do it without using Firebase?
Uh, I guess I haven't explored it pretty well, but there are a couple of other libraries that helps you do this.
Mhm.
Deep links were used before, but there was an issue with deep links because it didn't used to survive the installation process. Like the context was lost during the installation process. So, but I'm not sure about other services, but I'll definitely go and explore that, and will let you know, Gaurav. Please hit me in Twitter or LinkedIn. We can have a chat.
All right, great. Gaurav, I hope that answers your question. So at the moment, Plaban, we don't have any more questions for you.
All right.
So thank you so much for presenting your all the knowledge that you have to all our viewers today. And I would love to see you towards the end of the show again.
Thank you, Digvijay.
Great. See you soon.
See you.
All right, ladies and gents. So that was Plavan, and he was talking about achieving dynamic links using React Native Firebase. Before we move on to our next speaker, here's a quick reminder: if you are watching and you like what you're seeing, don't forget to tweet about us. Tweet using the hashtag RNBlr and let the world know what we are doing here today, so more people can join in on the fun. Uh, well, thank you so much for that. And with that, let's move on to our next speaker of the day, Nishan Bende. He is going to be talking about React Native Aria, which is a brand new venture that's been started by him. So let's have Nishan here with us on the stream.
Mm,
There he
Hi,
is.
yeah,
Hi, very good afternoon, Nishan.
yeah.
How are
Good
you doing
afternoon.
today?
Yeah, I'm good.
Wonderful, wonderful to know. How's your day been going?
I just completed my presentation, so it's
Uh-huh.
been good.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, Nishan here is not. It is not his first time on React Native and React meetup. He has been a part of this meetup before as well as a panelist. And now today he's going to be a speaker and presenting some new findings that he has come across. As a short introduction, of course, Nishan is a full stack developer. He is currently tinkering with React Native, React, and Node. And he likes to play the guitar in his free time. Have you thought of starting a band, maybe?
Earlier I used to, but now I'm like a solo.
Oh,
Yeah.
he's a solo performer, ladies and gents. So why don't you? I mean, is there any place where they can check you out? Maybe how you play or something like that. Do you have an
Actually,
Instagram account?
I used to upload long before, like at Facebook, but now I don't
Mm-hmm.
upload. So maybe we'll start uploading later.
Oh, very
Yeah.
good. Nishan Bende at Facebook, ladies and gents. You should always go and check him out.
No, I have like deleted my account now, so I'm
Oh,
not
he's
there anymore.
deleted it. Well, you should start one again then. I'm pretty sure everybody would like to see that. Anyway, so Nishan, I'd leave the stage to you, and why don't you take it away?
Yeah, 1 minute. Let me
All the
start
best.
sharing.
Yep.
I hope everyone is able to see this. Okay, so like let's first start with the definition. Like, what is React Native Aria? So yeah, it's a library of React hooks for React Native Web and React Native Android and iOS that provides accessible UI primitives for your design system. Right? You can read more at the documentation, but like let's zoom out a bit and see like what it means by accessible UI primitives. Right? Okay, so what is accessibility? Okay, so accessibility is a very broad topic, and we are not going to cover everything in detail. We'll be just focusing on components and accessibility related to components. So yeah, so but Generally, web accessibility means that people with disabilities can use and understand the web. And the goal of web accessibility is that all people can perceive, understand, navigate, interact, and contribute to the web, right? So, like, sometimes it's easy to assume like everyone has a mouse, everyone is able to use web using a like mouse or or touch screen and anything, but like there are people with certain conditions, they need to navigate web via just keyboard or some like devices, right? So we need to consider them as well, like when we are designing or creating websites. Okay, so let's move to the next slide. Okay, so yeah, let's talk about web accessibility. So yeah, we can separate elements into like two categories. One is like interactive elements. So these are you can consider them as modal, menu, checkbox, form elements, and non-interactive elements, right? So this includes the structure and layout of the HTML, the elements used for structuring and layouting the HTML, right? The nav tag. Yeah. So HTML5 includes some of these tags like nav, article, and H1 and H6 are already there. So let's take a demo. Okay. Okay. So now we are looking at some interactive elements. So let's check out this demo. Okay. So yeah, like previously, like for many years, I have been building interactive elements like this because I didn't check very much in detail about accessibility. So yeah, as you can see, this is a simple menu element. If I click here, it opens this like drop down, right? But you can see like we haven't taken anything into account for accessibility, right? It just simply opens the drop down, right? But yeah, so this is not how it should work. It is not accessible for keyboard users. So let's say if I tab here, right, the focus doesn't shift to the first element, right? So we will look at the specification of menu component, how this component should actually behave. So yeah, this is the specification. Let's look at the menu component. Yeah, so this is how it should behave, like keyboard interactions. And 1 minute. Yeah, menu button, right? So pressing enter should open the menu, and it should place focus on the first menu item, right? But as you can see, like pressing enter doesn't move focus to this copy button, but it should ideally. So yeah, we should not ever build menu components like this, right? Okay, we should always take account of this specification. Yeah. Okay, so now let me close this demo. uh, Yeah, so this is the example of how a menu component should behave. So let me first tap here. If I click here, as soon as I press enter, as you can see, the my focus automatically shifted to this first link. And when I press down key, I'm not using mouse here. I'm just pressing down, 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 and it keeps on like doing the focus shifting, right? So yeah, so this was the example of interactive elements. So there are like many elements. We just check the menu. So each one of these elements have specific behavior, like how they should behave ideally, considering keyboard and focus management stuff. Okay, so now let's look at the non-interactive elements. Okay, yeah, so for example, this is an article, right? And now we have heading here, and this is the post description, right? We haven't taken into account semantic elements, right? So there are few elements. I mean, we can refactor this thing into a bit more semantic meaning, right? Let's say we put this heading into H3 tag, and we can put this div into paragraph tag, for example. Okay, now as you can see, the styling is a bit weird because browser has some styling for HTML elements. We can reset that, but let's see how rich it has made accessibility wise. Okay, so now we will use one software called VoiceOver. It's built into Mac. So this is what people with like people who have vision impairment use this to navigate websites, right? So let's use this.
Voiceover on Chrome.
Cool.
React at
Okay.
Google Chrome.
So
Nishan.
as you
Window.
can see,
React native
we
Aria
have
Google
added
Slides.
two.
Tab.
Sorry,
Button
1
art.
minute.
What
Let
the
me pause
editor is
this.
not accessible at this time. Press Alt. Art. Insertion at end of text.
Yeah. So we have added article element and H3, right? So okay, start it again.
Void. Landmarks menu. Article. Landmarks menu.
Okay. Now it's
You are
showing
currently in a
article in the
voiceover
landmark
menu.
region,
This
right?
is a list of voiceover closing.
Okay.
Landmarks menu. Articles menu. Windows headings menu.
Yeah, and also
Heading
showing
level
the
3.
heading.
This is a post title.
This is because we added
You are
H3
currently
tag.
window articles menu. Landmark article. Heading level 3. This is a post description.
Yeah.
Voiceover off.
So using this article heading tag, we made application a bit more accessible, right? People with like visual impairment, they can just they can just navigate through article and headings, because headings are like most they are considered as important text, right? So maybe they can just navigate to headings using that, like which I just showed. Okay, so this was semantic HTML element, right? Okay, let's see a demo of YouTube, like how they are using semantic HTML element to make navigation a bit easier. Okay, let me start voiceover again.
Voiceover on Chrome. Landmarks menu.
Okay.
Chrome has banner. Search. Navigation. Main. You. Banner. Group. Guide. Selected. Toggle button. Voiceover
Okay.
off.
So as you saw, that YouTube has has created regions called banner, navigation, and main, right? So yeah, I mean, this is how you can make navigation easier for like those who are using voiceover, right? And okay. So how to do that? So these are called like landmark regions. How you can create them? So it's specified over here. Okay. So what is it? Yeah, so for example, as you saw, we saw on YouTube, it was showing navigation region, right? So this entire section is put into a navigation region. So how you can define that in your website? So you can put role equal to navigation to that entire div. So let's say this is a sidebar navigation. You can assign role equals to navigation. It will start automatically showing into that voiceover landmark region, right? And this is Aria technique. There is also HTML5 element called nav, so you can use that also. Yeah. Okay, so these are the two things. Now let's look at accessibility traits. Okay, this is the web part, and this is React Native, Android, and iOS. So in web part, as you saw in the earlier demo, we need keyboard interactions, right? For interactive elements, we need to manage ARIA roles and attributes, and yeah, we also saw semantic HTML and focus management. Okay, Android and iOS might need focus management when used with a hardware keyboard. So that I haven't yet explored in much detail. Maybe I will explore it next. Okay. So now what are the existing solutions? Like what can we do? Like we shouldn't make okay, close the demo. 1 minute. Let me quickly open it. Okay, it's taking a bit long. Let me just close it. Okay, so as you saw, we shouldn't make menu element like I had shown you earlier. So then what should we use? Okay, so there are a few solutions which exist. Yeah, first thing, use platform components whenever possible. So you should use elements which are already provided by HTML or browsers, right? Like select element, for example. You should not create your custom select. And second, no area is better. So I've added some resources which you should check them out, and after that start integrating accessibility in your websites, right? Because it's very easy to like put I mean put like put more information like which is not necessary, and like it can confuse users, right? So first you should check the resources which are put in like, end of the slides, and after that you should start experimenting with accessibility techniques. Yeah. And okay, so there are few libraries out there which can help you create such components. So first let's check out Reach UI. So yeah, so as you can see, they provide unstyled elements, which, so this is the menu component which you can use and style as per your design, and it behaves as per the specification, right? They have mentioned it in the doc. You can check it out. And there is React Aria, which we'll talk later. So this one is from Adobe. We are using this in React Native Aria for web. And there is Redux UI, which is the recent one. Okay. So yeah, native base 3, we will handle accessibility for web and mobile also. So it's in development. And other thing is testing. So I think whenever you create a website, you should test that website just like you do inspect element with, I mean, test it out with voiceover, or maybe uh, try just using keyboard and test the website, right? If it's accessible or not. Okay, let's move to other slide. So okay, we talked about web. So we saw like the semantic and interactive elements. Now let's look at native app accessibility. Okay, so this is like two videos of components. 1 minute. This one is, yeah, mini.
Talk back on.
Okay, so like we have voiceover on Mac, we have talkback on Android, and voiceover on iOS. Okay, so let's see how it works with the menu
More
component.
options. Pop-up window.
Okay, so as you saw, as soon as I clicked on that menu button, it read the label. So accessibility label, it is very important when you are creating a website. Okay, so okay, so as soon as I clicked on that item, it shifted the accessibility focus to this new tab first button in that pop-up, right? So it automatically did that. So whenever you have a pop-up modal or something in your Android or iOS, you should make sure that whenever someone taps on it, it shifts the accessibility focus to that element, to the first element, right? So this was menu component on Android, and this is tabs. Okay, I'm not sure. Like whenever I play video, it lags a bit. So I think I won't. Okay, it's playing now.
Talk back on. Entertainment. Entertainment. Selected.
Okay, so as you saw, this is the Twitter native app, native Android app. So when you, so these are the tabs, right? When I click on entertainment tab, it tells you that entertainment is selected now. Okay, so these are some components. Similarly, there are like many components. We have listed them in React Native Aria's documentation, so you can check that out. And okay, so now we talked about native app accessibility and web accessibility. Now, how does this apply to React Native, right? Yeah, so this is tweet from Jamuar, CEO from Infinite Red. It's a React Native agency, and so they're saying like, yeah, React Native, it works on Android, iOS, Windows, etc., etc. So on web also. So okay, so we will be focusing on web, Android, and iOS, and let's see what is React Native Web. So basically, whatever components which we write in React Native, for example, view, pressable, or text, it gets converted to HTML elements. It's built on top of React DOM and supports all Aria attributes. Okay, so now this enables us to create a single component, for example, a menu component, right? And share that with the React Native Web and React Native Android or iOS. But as you saw, like their accessibility needs are different, right? For example, menu component in web, it should focus all the keyboard interactions, focus management and stuff. But on Android or iOS, it should just open as a pop-up and just shift the focus to the first element, right? So yeah, so the needs are different. And now let's move back to React Native Aria. And what it does, it provides a single library which can be used to create such components, and which caters the need of React Native Web uh, and Android and iOS accessibilities, right, for such components. Okay, Yeah. So for web, we are using React Aria. So that is, let me open it quickly. Okay, you can check this out in detail because yeah, we don't have much time. So you can read the documentation and check about the approach. Like also there's one great talk. I think I have added in resources, so you can check that from Devon, I mean the from Adobe, who is behind this library. So you can check that, like what is the architecture and what we are using in React into Aria. Okay. So yeah, examples. So this is the menu component built using React Native Aria. Let's see what it does when we run it in
Drop back
native
on.
Android. Yeah.
Click here to perform some actions. Collapsed button.
Yeah. So uh, the the text it read out. Click here to perform some actions. It's an accessibility label, so it's reading that out, and
Click here to perform some actions. Expanded.
yeah. So it reads that it's expanded and it shifts focus to the first element of that menu element. And this is when we run it on web. Okay, I have it open. Okay.
Voiceover on Chrome. React Native bot. Leaving React Native bot mono example Google Chrome Nishan person 1. Entering React Native bot mono example web content. Click here to menu item menu. Click here to cut.
Yeah, I mean it behaves as expected. Like you can use keyboard focus and keyboard interactions, up down arrow keys as per the spec. Okay, so these are some additional resources which I highly recommend you check them out. This is like free course on web accessibility by Google, and this one's really cool website. It like showcases how you can how there are some quick wins which you can like quickly do to increase the accessibility. So yeah, before like starting any of this accessibility thing, you should first check these resources. After that only like dive into that. And yeah, this is the React Spectrum architecture which we are following in React Native Aria, and you can read about this, like how we are using hooks to uh, yeah to get accessible components in web and native Android iOS. And yeah, I think that's it from my end. uh, yeah, if you have any questions, you can just hit me up on Twitter, or like let me know. And you can also check out the source code. It's here on GitHub. And one thing I want to show, okay, I have it open in my local. So like how do we make sure that the code from like web and Android iOS, it doesn't get bundled into your build? So we have different entry points. So this use menu.web.ts, it gets bundled when you are using this library on web. And we have simple use menu which gets bundled when you are using it on Android and iOS. So yeah, your bundle size won't be that big if you use this. Okay, it's still in development. We have few components. Let me show you. So still we haven't added use menu and other components which are in development, but we'll soon update the documentation. But you can check it out. Yeah, and let us know like who. Digvijay, you can take it.
Hi again, Nishan.
Yeah, hi.
Hi, thanks so much for the presentation. We do have a question from one of our viewers. Aditya asks, is React Native Aria made over React Native default accessibility, or does it have some other native dependencies?
So no, Aditya. Currently, we are just using whatever props which are provided by React Native as default, which can be found in React Native's accessibility documentation. So we are not depending on any native dependencies as of now.
Right, I hope that answers your question, Aditya. So for now, we don't have any more questions for you, Nishan, but I'm sure we might have some more. So we'll probably tackle those towards the end of the event, and we would love to have you over towards the end of the show as well.
Sure.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time, and we'll see you towards the end.
Thank you.
All right, people. So that was Nishan, and he was talking about React Native Aria, which is another accessibility tool that's built over the original Aria built by Adobe. And I think it's a pretty decent. They've done a pretty decent job with that. Um, Of course, a quick reminder again to tweet about the event, let everybody know what we're doing here. And if you're finding it helpful, do like us on YouTube, do subscribe to our channel, and you'll be in touch with all the future events that we do here live on YouTube. Moving on with the event, I want to introduce you to one of our recurring speakers, Vinay. He today is going to be talking about this one tool that he built on his own. It's called Rapid React. So let's have Vinay on the screen with us.
Hi,
There he
Digvijay.
is. Hi, Vinay. How are you doing today?
I am doing great. How are you doing?
I'm good. I love the what you've done with your room. A single spotlight on you and darkness behind you. I think that's very aesthetic.
Right. Absolutely.
Wonderful, wonderful. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're keeping safe.
Right. Yes, I am.
Wonderful, great. So, as a short introduction for Vinay, of course, he is a software developer here at GeekyAnts. He has been a part of these React and React Native meetups quite sometimes, and I hope you might remember him from some of the great talks that he has delivered on animation and a lot of different things that he has worked on in React, of course. And today he's going to bring you another project of his that he has built with his own two hands, and well, of course, I'll let him tell you more about it. But on the side, he is a music connoisseur and he loves to produce music in his free time. I hope you still do that, Vinay.
Yes, I still do, but right now because I'm focusing more on development side, so I've kept it on side.
Well, you should continue doing it again, because I've heard some of his stuff and it's crazy. I mean, you should always share some of the sources if you're putting your music online, so people, all of our viewers here, can hear it too.
Right.
And well, Vinay, I'll let you take the stage now, and all the best. Take it away.
Sure. Thank you, Digvijay. So let me just turn on my screen. So I guess my screen would be visible to all. Hi everyone, welcome to yet another interesting meetup that we are having today. It's going to be all about talking about React and React Native, what we have doing so far at GeekyAnts. So today I'm going to talk about Rapid React and how does it work and what is the ideology behind it and what it is all about. So slight gist that I would like to give you, like what we are going to discuss with Rapid React today. It's going to be like, what is Rapid React and how does it function? What are its features? How does it work under the hood? And then we're going to see it in action. And then we're going to look at what Rapid React holds for the future with the roadmap that has been curated for it. So what is Rapid React? So it's an amazing CLI tool which helps you scaffold React.js applications from scratch. It helps the developer save a lot of time in setting up React in terms of folder structure setup or writing the boilerplate code for state management, internationalization of the application or Dockerization of the application. So there are a lot of things that a developer needs to do. And also, I guess routing is also a really crucial part when a developer sets up the React application from scratch. So the main aim of this library is to save your time and energy on setting up the React application and get kickstarted with the development. So there are some really cool features that I'm going to just show you quickly. So it's written in TypeScript. So as it's written in TypeScript, it prevents like painful bugs that libraries usually ship with. And then it works on all platforms, be it Linux, Windows, or Mac OS. It's as light as 7 KB, minified and gzipped, and it supports both JavaScript and TypeScript. So usually developers prefer to work with TypeScript or JavaScript based on their preference when they're working with React app. So you can choose which language you want to scaffold React app in, and it uses create React app under the hood. So you're getting the best boilerplate code pre-written, and it offers export preference. Again, it's something totally developer's choice if they want to go ahead with default preferences or named exports. And it also supports the popularly used CSS preprocessor Sass. And you can, when you choose this option, you can scaffold the entire application with SCSS support. And every time there's a new version update available to Rapid React, you get a comprehensive notification, like what is the version update that you have on your next go. And it also sets up the routing, and you can also specify custom routes beforehand. So, and then we have scaffolding commonly used folders. So there are some folders that developers usually scaffold, such as configs, assets, src, images, docs, configs. So all these kind of folder names have been baked in, and also you can specify your custom folders as well. You can also install your dependencies and the corresponding dev dependencies as per requirement. And it also set up state management with Mobix as the one of the option. And you can also specify custom store names that you want to have already bootstrapped. And also you can scaffold the entire state management with Redux library. And you can also specify names of reducers that you already want to have set up, along with Redux toolkit, which is a great tool which has been recently developed by the maintainers of Redux. So and then we have async middleware choice. You can always choose between Thunk or Saga as per your specifications. And at the last, we have Redux logger, which is really essential whenever we're working in a Redux based environment for better debugging. And at last, whenever the rapid react is finished with the entire setup, it plays a notification sound. So you don't really need to stay in the front of the screen to check when rapid react has finished its working. So under the hood, we're going to see how's the user interface designed, the functionality logic, what data structure does it use, the algorithms. So user interface is pretty crucial even if you're building just a simple CLI tool. And I'm going to show you how does it work in Rapid React. So over here, you can see that we have written Rapid React. It's nothing but just I've used a Figlet library. It's great for, this ASCII art. So you can use it for this purpose. And at the bottom, you can see that I have colored the entire user interface with green text or some blue text and some bold text that has been done by chalk, and the stick marks or question marks that have been handled by log symbols, or either you can use figures. So these are the npm libraries. Coming on to the notification update. So like I said, that every time a notification update is available, the version will be shown in this manner. So there's just a beautiful white box. It has been developed by Box and Library. And then package.json is this library which fetches the remote package version from the npm. And somewhere is a package which tells us if there's any change in the semantic versioning as well or not. And somewhere difference is going to tell me the type of update which is available, which can be the major, minor, patch, or a pre-release candidate. And coming on to this setup, it's being handled by an amazing library, which is Inquirer. It's just an interactive way to ask user what configuration you need to have with your entire React application. Loaders, this has been handled by ORA. And then we're going to come to functionality logic. So the main crust is like, how does this work under the hood, apart from the user interface design? So first of all, as it's a CLI application, it has been built in Node.js. So normal JavaScript or TypeScript files are not executable. So in order to make our code executable, we have to use this particular statement, which is known as shebang. So when we use the statement, it makes sure that we can run this entire package as an executable. So for example, we have .exe in Windows. So it's somewhat similar to this. And capturing user input, I have maintained the entire user input within this JSON, which tells what is the user preference, like the default app name or the folders that he wants to scaffold, if he's using TypeScript or not, and things like these. And then coming on to running the commands to build the entire React application, the bootstrapping part. So as I said, that's working with the React app, create React app under the hood. That's how I'm doing it. I'm just maintaining some command configuration in a JSON. And over here, you can see, like, for example, I have a configuration for installing the React application with, the default command name, the arguments that needs to be passed, the message while it's being installed, the error message and success message. Same goes for installing dependencies and dev dependencies. And this configuration can then be handled by Spawn, which is a utility provided by Node.js. So I preferred using Swan because it's a good way to execute some long processes instead of exec, which is also another alternate. And then we're going to look at the data structure to maintain the folder structure. So like I said, that user can specify his own folder structures, custom folders, and we also need to scaffold the routings, and we also need to scaffold the entire state management. So as we know that entire thing is defined in a folder structure, I'm using tree data structure, and this tree is general tree. So a parent can have a number of childs. So this is how it works. All of the blue highlighted nodes, they are basically the directories, whereas the end nodes, they can be either empty subdirectories or some text files. So this is how each node looks like. It's basically an amalgamation of the name, which can be the name of the file or the name of the directory, and children can be either for the subdirectories or string, which refers to a file. So I'm basically maintaining the, for example, I'm going to show you how I maintain the routes. So that's how the tree really looks like. So if user has entered any routes that he wants to scaffold, first of all, we're going to have a router, which has all our private routes or public routes. We're going to maintain that file. So how it works is that we specify the name of the file, sorry, not the file, but the folder router. And then we have a children. So there's a file which is index.cmp.ext is basically short form for abbreviation for component extension, which can be the JS or TS based on TypeScript preference of a user. And in the children, we have a router template, which is gonna, write down the entire template of what a router looks like. And then we're gonna have routes. So here the children's are gonna be each that particular route. For example, home, login, careers page. These are the routes. So we're gonna maintain children for them. For example, index.js or TS, and the corresponding style sheet, which can be the CSS or SCSS based on user preference. And in case user prefers to work with named exports, then we're going to maintain an index.js or TS file based on if user is preferring for named exports or not. Similarly, we can, in a similar fashion, we can scaffold the Mobex or Redux templates or any other folders that user chooses. So this is how the router template looks like. It's nothing much, but it's just a simple function that returns us an ES6 template string, where we can just pass our routes, and it's going to map them and iterate over the entire routes array and write down the entire file. So this over here, you can see we have browser router, we have switch statement, and in which switch statement we have the another routes, all of the routes. This is the way it has been handled. And moving forward, then this is how the entire final, I would say, the tree looks like when the entire scaffolding has been done. So we have a router which has name as index.tsx and children as router template. Then we have routes. For example, user entered foo as one route, and then user has entered bar and as another route. That's the JSON for that. And if user chose a named export, then we're going to have a separate index.ts file. So once that's done, I'm going to just traverse the entire tree with a pre-order traversal. So this is a simple logic. So if at any node the children is string, it means that it's a file. And else I'm going to recursively traverse each and every children until or unless a string is not found. So this is how it works. If string is found, then I'm going to push the entire that node into a separate array, which is files. Else I'm going to maintain a separate array, which is directories. And if anyhow the node is not a string, then it means that either it's directory or a subdirectory. And moving forward, once I have traversed the entire tree, this is how the output looks like. These are all the directories and these are the files. So we have the root export. So like I said, in case of named exports, I'm going to have these root exports, and this is going to be a route. So this is the bar route, which has the style sheet file, and then it has the component file. Same goes for foo. It has its component, not component, but the styles file. And then we have the component file. And this is finally our router template that I just showed you. So once that's done, I just use mkdir to write all the directories, and then I write files using the write to file, this function. And also, let's suppose in case user is using Redux, then we also need to make sure that whatever create get tab creates the default app.js file, we need to replace the default app import by the provider statement. So this is just a simple logic which is using read file and write file under the hood, and with some regex we just replace whatever the content that we need to do. And also in case is routing, if we need the routing, then we also need to replace the app import statement by the router import statement. And also, if user chooses to work with Mobex, then we need to make sure that the experimental decorators are enabled in some sort of either TS config file or some other way. So that's how it's being handled in this function. So this was just a broad crisp of how things are working under the hood. Also amazing thing, like I said, that I've implemented playing notification sound. So it's not any rocket science. The entire secret is over here, the fun part. In case it's a Windows platform, I'm just using some PowerShell commands to run that notification sound. Else, I'm in a Mac system or a Linux system, I'm using a third-party libraries, which under the hood uses some AF play commands to play the entire notification sound. So now we're gonna see how Rapid React actually looks like in action. So first of all, I'm gonna navigate to the directory of my choice. And over here, I'm gonna write Rapid React. So first of all, you can see that it's displaying the version that it's currently in, whatever the feature that it provides. So over here, you can, a developer can choose what his language preferences. I'll go with TypeScript. And then app name is choose demo app. And then we choose what is the preferred export, it's named. And preferred styling would be SCSS. Do you need routing? Yes, I do need. And then we have some default routes, home, login, and about. I'll go with them. And then I need state management. I'll go ahead with Redux, and I do need Redux logger for debugging purposes. And then I'm going to choose the middleware of my choice. Let's suppose that's Thunk. And then we can enter any space separated reducers that we would like to bootstrap. So I'm going to go ahead with foo and bar. And then we can choose from commonly used folders. So I'm going to select all of them. And if there's any separate folder that I need of my own choice, so I'm going to go ahead with configs. And if there's any additional dependencies, I'm going to go ahead with them. And any dev dependencies, these are those. So this is how it works. And I'm going to just quickly switch to what is the roadmap behind the entire future of Rapid React. And as soon as Rapid React would complete, I'll probably hear a notification sound that it has been complete. So roadmap, it's pretty interesting of whatever the features that I have planned so far. So first of all, it's gonna have a dedicated setup to choose from and set up popularly used design libraries, which are these. Because any React application is incomplete if you don't have any design libraries that you're using. It can be either your custom, your own design ones, or you can use and choose any third-party design libraries. And then we have a support for internationalization. Usually the application that we build these days are built at a global level. So we also need to make sure that the apps are internationalized. So Rapid React is gonna provide support for both React INTL and React I18 Next. And to maintain a better code quality, if you want to set up Husky Git hooks with lint stage, Rapid React is also going to add support for that. And also, usually we work with Prettier and ESLint configs. So if you want to choose from any commonly used ESLint config, such as this one, even that can be a future version, a feature. And setting up the code splitting with lazy loading and suspense. Right now, the routes are simple. So if you want to scaffold the entire React application with entire code splitting and providing some magical chunk names, even that would be a feature on the bucket list. And at the last, we have an amazing thing, Dockerization. Usually people, or I would say the developers, Dockerize their React apps. So this is something that I still have to figure out how Rapid React would go ahead with this. But this is something really crucial, adding support for Dockerizing the React application. So I guess this is the end of this thing. So thank you, everyone. You can check Rapid React on Product Hunt. It has reached somewhat 60+ upvotes. You can check it out on NPM. It has good support over there. And it's available on GitHub. It's open source. You can check out the entire. Okay. So let me interrupt you. As you might have heard, the notification sound is complete. The notification sound just played. So right now you can see that entire scaffolding has been done. So I'm going to just quickly navigate to the application that it has just made. Yeah. So this is what entire thing looks like. So for example, these are the folders that it has made, and coming on to the router. This is the router that it has designed, and then we have one of the most important thing is like store. So as I said, that it's gonna scaffold the Redux along with the logger, and everything else has been scaffolded with Rapid React. So it preferably is more or less it saves you a day's time, as it drains a lot of effort in writing so much boilerplate code. So it's gonna save you a lot of time in how Rapid React scaffolds the entire application. Coming back to this, so you can check Rapid React on Product Hunt, NPM, and GitHub. On GitHub, it has reached 50 plus stars, and you can always connect with me on LinkedIn and GitHub for any further questions. So I guess Digvijay, you can take over if there's any question answer that anyone would like to ask.
That was amazing, Vinay. That was amazing. I mean, I think the viewers and I are in sync when we want to ask you this: that is there anything that Rapid React has missed?
Right. So I guess the only thing that Rapid React is missing right now is that future roadmap that it has curated right now, and I'm gonna make sure that those things are on finished as soon as possible.
Great. So Gaurav has one question that he'd like to ask you. He wants to know if React Native project setup is in the roadmap for Rapid React.
All right, so that's a pretty interesting concept. I guess I'm gonna try to see how it goes, and working with React Native is somewhat complex, I would say, because you also need to make sure that the libraries or any third-party libraries that you're using with React Native, they are linked properly. So sometimes libraries use automatic linking, or sometimes you need to link the libraries manually, or by opening Xcode and Android Studio. So this is something which is not possible to Rapid React, because it's at the end of the day, it's just a CLA tool. It cannot open Android Studio for you and link the third-party libraries or set up Xcode. So I guess Rapid React might be able to do some bit in React Native, but not everything would be feasible.
Okay. Well, Gaurav, I hope that answers your question. And with that, I don't think we have any more questions for you at the moment, Vinay, but we would love to have you again towards the end of the show. So stick around, would you?
Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you. Cheers.
Thank you.
All right. Ladies and gents, that was Vinay, and he was talking about his newest pet project, Rapid React, which I think is a wonderful, wonderful thing. Then I urge all of you to go and give it a shot. Maybe it's, like he said, it's going to save you a day's work. Anyway, so moving on towards the last speaker of the day, and this is the final talk that we have for this event. We have Aditya Jamuar, who is going to be talking about building a form library for React, which is quite interesting. So let's have Aditya with us.
Hi.
There he is. Hi, Aditya. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. What about you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing great. I see that you're in office at the moment.
Yeah.
Wonderful. I was hoping you'd be at home, but it's good to see that as well.
Yeah. Better internet.
Well, that's true. That's true. So, as a quick introduction for Aditya, he's been a software developer with GeekyAnts for almost 2 years now, and he likes to read and learn random historical facts and stories. I mean, it must be fun to gather all of this information, which you would rarely get to use. But I mean, there's a separate thrill to that.
Yeah. Well, I'm just waiting for my moment, I guess.
Well, maybe you are. So here's I'll give you a moment. So, what's the most recent strange historical fact that you came across?
Well, I was reading up on Indus Valley for a while, and there's this new site called Rakigadi that was discovered in around 2018, and it has a lot of controversy going around with it. And there's a DNA sample that we got. So there's a lot of cool things going on in the archaeological side of India. So I really encourage you guys to go check it out. It's really fun.
Well, there's another side of Aditya that you did not know of. everybody. So there you go. Anyway, Aditya, I'm going to let you take the stage, and all the best. Take it away.
Thank you. All right, let me just share my screen, and yeah, I hope you can see my screen. I'm just gonna start with my presentation. All right. So today's topic for me is going to be building a form library for React. After all the accessibility stuff and all the cool CLIs that we have seen today, this is a step back, to be honest, because forms are generally the major part of what like internet is made of. Like internet, if you could say like 10 to 20% of it is just forms. We are just filling forms here and there, and more or less it used to be simpler when you used like in back in the time of Laravel. I mean, Laravel is still relevant, but like when it was very like highly used, forms were simpler. I mean, you just had to like validate a request and it used to like render the UI for you. You didn't have to do much of the like handling that we used to do. But ever since JavaScript and recent frameworks for JavaScript, things have become complicated. We expect more out of forms. We don't just expect forms to be a place where we store data or where we write our data. We want it to be a place where we validate it as well. And it has to be aesthetically, it has to look good. No, and that has really complicated the form scene, especially in React. So today we are gonna talk about how to build a form library for React. Before that, let me just introduce myself. I'm Aditya. I have been a software developer with GeekyAnts for the past 2 years. I have worked on BuilderX, I've worked on API Beats, I've worked on a lot of other OSSs, and I hope you'll see more from me in future. All right, let's start with first of all, why? Before we go towards anything, before we get into building a form library, let's talk about why we need one to begin with, right? So, as I said, forms have become complicated. There's a lot of things going under the hood. There is maybe validation, there is checking if it's dirty or not yet. So are quite a few logic. Just to show you how complicated it has become, let me just take you to a basic code sandbox that I made. So this is just an input. It doesn't have any validation so far. All right. This works more or less. This works, but there's a slight issue with it. It doesn't validate. So if I were to write this and I were to submit, it would work, right? Because there's no validation on the front end, and then we have to validate it on the back end, which at this point, at the volume of APIs that is going around, becomes a bit messy. Also, it really deteriorates the overall UX of your application. So let's try to add a basic validation in a normal React way without using any libraries. All right, so this is an input. Let's say we want to have something like an error, which will be by default true because it's currently empty. And let's say when we are changing, we want to say that, okay, if the value is not empty, set error as false, else set it as true. Then set up the value itself. Okay, then let's say we want to have some sort of a error message that shows that, okay, this is still a required field. Once we type, it disappears. When we do remove that, when we clear it, again it shows the error. So now it's working a bit better. Like we have a error, but now we also want to make sure that the first time a user lands into a form, this is not there. This has to come up when as a user has focused on it and then maybe inputted a wrong input, right? So let's put another variable in there. Let's do something like dirty, and then let's say that whenever we are putting a submit or whenever we are doing an on blur, it turns into a dirty field. All right, let's try it out. Oh yeah, and one last thing. Yeah, so as you can see, now this should work as expected. All right, so this works, right? I mean, ultimately on a very base level, this is what a form should have. a validation, a dirty, like a check for dirty or not. So this is pretty simple, right? But as you can see, this is a single field. This is a single email field, and we had to have like 3 states for this, and then we had to like write a lot of custom logic. When you multiply this multiple fields into like 10 or 20 or maybe 30 fields, then it becomes a bit complicated and messy, and your code will start to look really bad, and it becomes hard to maintain, to be honest. So that's why a form library is needed. It handles all these things for you, so you don't have to do this. You just focus on the logic, you just focus on building your business, and the library will work for you, right? So that's what the concept of a form library is. But let's say, why another library, right? I mean, we already have format, and don't we already have React hook forms? Why do we need a third one, right? I mean, they work pretty well, right? So let's just say recently I was building a form, and some of my forms, since it was more based on the business logic and not on the how the UI should look, I felt that the form library or like focuses awfully a lot on UI, which is right, because ultimately they are a form library, and form library are UI components, right? But at the same time, there was a concept which basically says UI as an afterthought. So I will like quickly take you to the original article. This was written by Michael Westrate, who is also the creator of Movex. And it's a very good article, to be honest. It's a bit long, but it's like really effective. Some of the key points that he makes here is that ultimately the data is the MVP of your application, right? I mean, he gives a very good metaphor that if tomorrow your inbox.google.com stops working, where do you go? Like, what do you call, if you have to call the office itself, what do you ask them? Do you ask them that where my plus button is, or what the validation are, or do you just ask what my mails are? And ultimately that's what matters in your application. UI certainly helps with your application, but it is not the business logic of your application. So but somehow React and Vue and all these amazing front-end libraries seem to like take our focus away from there, right? And that's what the problem, that's where the problem becomes comes like we are awfully mixing, like coupling our states, our local states, with the data logic, and it becomes really messy. At the end of the day, it becomes hard to maintain it. We don't know where what goes. And when you add these form libraries into the mix, which are ultimately UI first components, it becomes a bit more messy, right? So I mean, he also added that always try to do something like a model first, model data, like try to model data first. That is, if your application was accessible, even if you were building it for CLI, that's the ideal build for the application. And when we look at the current form library solutions, that is somewhere missing. We model our UI first, and then we build our data, then we plug our data into it. So there's another code that he says, which is written in the like article. It says, React is to me like a CLI library, a tool that helps to capture user input, fire up processes, and to transform business data into a nice output. It's a library to build user interfaces, not business processes. That's something to live by when developing for React. And so this is the exact principle that influences. This is what we thought ideal libraries should be built upon, right? So, and you know what? There's a very famous library that's built upon this very idea. That is the Mobex and Mobex state tree itself. So let me just give you a brief about what they are. All right. So MST ultimately is built upon models. Okay, a model can have another model itself. That model can be used to create an instance of that particular model. So this is like a class and an object structure, a basic object-oriented programming. Then this instance can be plugged into an UI and everything will start working on its own, right? So everything is working out at this point. What now I want you to focus on this model itself. Okay, this model allows us to extend it. That means if the model A has some properties, we can extend it and add more properties on top of it. So since this seems to work and this is something that goes with our what our goal philosophy is, let's use this. All right. So all right. Okay. So a form model, we can build a form model which in itself can have another form model, and it can have something like functionalities and APIs. And so this is what will be trying to build ultimately. Okay, but since I already built a POC, I would like to show it to you in action first. All right, so this is a basic setup that we're using. So what I want is I want a model that basically just takes the initial input, and then I define what it should do on submit, and then I maybe pass the instance using some provider, and then I'll just use something like a field, or maybe not even as a field, maybe something like a handle change or a handle blur, and it should automatically like work. We don't shouldn't have to do anything of that sort. And since this itself is a MST model on its own, we can do whatever we want, just like we would with MST, any other MST models. We can add functionalities, we can add middlewares. It becomes a lot simpler. So ultimately, this is what we try to build. Okay, this is something like, and maybe we can add more things like some pre-written validations, or maybe we can write more functions that can basically validate it on the fly. So this is what like a library built on this philosophy can do, because it's ultimately creating a instance out of a model which is already a MST model. So let's see how we did this, how this POC was built. So let me take you to the code itself. So what we are doing ultimately is we are creating a model. We are creating a model which has some volatile properties like submitting and touched. These are standard things that are used in every form library. We have other views like is submitting, errors. Maybe we have other things like is valid, get form data, and we have some actions that we have defined, which is again extensible because it's an MST model. So we have something like on submit, handle submit, set all touched, handle change, handle blur, set value. Once all these things come together, we have some other things like error message. Error message in itself has other values inside it. And so this can read from directly from the provider, so you don't have to do something extra. And at the end, when you are plugging everything in, you can just simply plug any UI library to it. So you can you are ultimately building a data model on one side and you're creating UI on the another, and these two are totally independent of each other. And then we are just plugging it in, just like we would with something like on change or maybe just field, and it just starts working. That is what an ideal form library should do, right? So I think this is what we have built. So we did a POC. We were doing this POC for a project, and when we thought we can probably wrap this all into a nice library, and you will be hearing about that library pretty soon. We'll be announcing it once we are done with all the small polishing that needs to be done, and you should definitely check it out. I think that's all, folks. Over to you, Digvijay.
Well, that was short and sweet, Aditya.
Yeah,
You can hear me, right?
yeah, I can.
All right, perfect. So thank you so much for your talk. It was really informative and rather sweet and short, I should say. We do have a few questions for you from our viewers. Aditya wants to ask if it's suitable for multi-page forms.
Yeah, actually it is. I am not sure if I have it running, but okay. So since it's built over a Mobix state tree, right? It's a model. So as you know, models can have models inside it, nested inside it. So we try to implement it just like that. You just pass instances into it, and it will just start working in itself. Like it's a form inside a form kind of concept. And since there's a get form value component on the root level, you can just use that and you can get a JSON out of it, just like you would with get snapshot of a Mobix object.
All right. Well, I hope that answers your question, Aditya, from Aditya. We have another question from Ananya. So, can we implement auto form completion with this?
I think since again we are allowing extensibility with it, so you can pretty much implement anything you want. Again, it's not at all very restrictive. API, you can plug it in with anything. You just have to provide it with handle change, handle blur, and it should start working with whatever you're building. That was our entire concept. Build UI and build data layers separately, so that it's easy to plug it in. I mean, we shouldn't have to worry too much about just one thing and then try to couple it with something another, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. Okay. I hope that answers your question, Nanya. Aditya has a follow-up question to the one that he asked before about multi-page forms. So, wants to know if the state would be preserved over page routing.
So we have tried it out. Again, it doesn't come in a package itself, but I mean, it's possible because we have experimented with it. We have experimented with it even in a Next.js application, which re-renders the entire page from the server itself, and it works. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
since this is ultimately a Mobix state tree, so if you put it in a native like your main tree, it's doable. If you save it in a local storage and then retrieve it, it's doable. Like there are multiple ways to do that as well, and it's pretty
Mm-hmm.
simple. We have tried it out, and it was really easy for us to build.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, I hope that answers your question again, Aditya. So, with that, I think that's all the questions we have at the moment for you. So, of course, if you guys have any other questions that you might want to ask our speakers, you can always connect with them on Twitter and LinkedIn. All of their Twitter accounts are mentioned in the description down below, so you can just check them out. And thank you so much, Aditya. I would love for you to be here since we are at the end of the event. And I'll just have you back on screen in a minute or two.
Sure. Thank you, Digvijay.
All right. Thank you. Thanks so much. So, ladies and gents, that was Aditya Jamuar, and he was talking about managing forms. And with that, we have reached the end of today's React and React Native remote meetup. I hope you guys had a lot of fun. I mean, it was really informative, and we had an amazing lineup of speakers and some amazing talks here today. So, towards the end, I would just like to have all of our speakers on screen with me for the closing. Okay, Vinay is here. Hi again, Vinay.
Hi.
Plaban is here too.
Hello.
Aditya has always been here, and there is Nishan. So, ladies and gents, these are all the speakers that we had for you today, and they had some amazing things to share with you. I hope, and we all hope, that you have had a lot to learn today, and you might want to go and check out a few things that these wonderful people have built. Towards the end, I would also like to thank the team who has worked in the behind the curtains to make all of this happen. Shweta, Maheshwari, Rishabh, all you guys are the real heroes for this event. Thank you for making this event so smooth and make it happen for all of us viewers. Special thank you to all of the viewers who have joined us live on YouTube. Thank you so much for spending your time with us, and we all hope that you have taken something away from this event today. Uh, of course, 2020 was a ride, and we all thought we were in a game of Jumanji, but 2021 apparently has turned out not to be the end, but just another level. So it's it's very important for us to take care of ourselves, take care of the people around you, take care of your mental and your physical health, and don't forget to be respectful and be nice to everyone, even the Flutter folks. So with that, guys, thank you so much for being with us, and thank you so much to all of you speakers for spending your time with us today and addressing and talking to all the viewers. Of course, if the viewers have any questions, you can always reach out to our speakers and us on their Twitter and LinkedIn accounts. And of course, don't forget to follow GeekyAnts on Twitter and LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram and all the social platforms that you can get your hands on. We are even on Reddit. Don't forget to subscribe and like this video and subscribe to our GeekyAnts YouTube channel so you are always in the loop of all the new events that we're doing. And on that note, thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful, wonderful day ahead.
Thank you.